I've got some traps here behind me, and I'm going to be going over the top 3 raccoon traps for beginners. And we got Jackson here too, so he's also going to be learning with us. Starting off with number 3 is honestly a trap that I wouldn't recommend to beginners at all, and it kind of goes into 2 ways. And that's going to be a snare, which is kind of like a cable thing. You're supposed to set it in the path of the animal, and as the animal walks through, it kind of closes around their neck and chokes them out. The other part of that is going to be a conibear trap. Now, the reason I don't really recommend these for beginners is because 1, they're a blind set, which means there's no bait involved, and you just have to know the trail the animal's walking. But 2, because conibears, you can get hurt really easy, and they're hard to set. But let me go ahead and set this one just so you guys know what it is. But don't worry, number 1 and number 2 are traps that are really good for beginners, and it's pretty much the only traps I use anymore. But with a conibear, it's got these springs on both sides. Oh gosh. And it's kind of hard to set. It's not impossible, but it's not necessarily easy to set. First of all, you gotta be kind of strong a little bit to set them. I can get this one.
Gotta work out your grip strength.
Yeah, you gotta work out your grip strength, that's for sure. All right, now I've got it set. But what I really don't like about this one is because 1, not only is it physically hard to set, 2, it's kind of mentally hard to set, especially for beginners, because you gotta know the exact 5 inches the raccoon is walking. That's kind of hard. And then 3, if this trap goes wrong, you can actually get hurt pretty bad. So it's kind of like a trap like that, pulling my fingers off. 1 safety's off, the other safety's off. Once again, guys, if you're a beginner, I don't recommend these, but I do want to show you how it works. That way you at least know it exists, right? Let's check it out. Let me find a piece of wood. You don't want to be sticking your hands in this thing because it will destroy them. Watch this. So the idea is that you set it in the path of the animal, but whenever the animal goes through, it's going to hit that trigger, and it literally slams on its head, killing it instantly. That's another reason, because no matter what you catch, oh, it's done for. And it don't matter if it was your neighbor's cat or what.
Well, if it's a skunk.
Yeah, then it stinks. Now these other 2 traps, if you do catch the wrong animal, or you just want to move the animal, you actually can. And this brings us into my number 2, the good old cage trap. But what I like about the cage trap is that you can actually catch a lot of animals with this. You can let them go really easy. They can't hurt you at all. And they're really easy to set too. So when it comes to cage traps though, there's been 2 designs that I've seen. The first one is a really basic one. It's probably the most common, but it's got like this spring door right here that you pull up on this. You lift up the door. Right here, there's this little trigger that notches on right there, and it's directly related to the pan back here. You basically just put bait back here. I use dog food or a honey bun or whatever you want. Animal walks in, steps on the pressure plate, the thing locks. And then the animal can't get out because the door shuts. I really don't like that kind because I think there's a better option right here. That's the kind you're going to buy at like Tractor Supply and stuff. This one is a little bit harder to find, but I'm going to put a link so that you guys can go straight to it if you want. This one has a different door style and there's no springs. It's all gravity. So you slide up these 2 rings to kind of unleash the door. And right over here is the trigger system. You just flip this up, which is also connected to the pan back there, and it just latches on right there. Same exact thing. You put bait in the back, animal comes through, steps on it, the door falls down. Let me show you that again. This time, instead of springs and stuff, when it's tripped, the door just falls down with gravity, and see these rings actually slide down and stop it. That way it can't come out. The only way a critter can get out of this cage is if it's really smart or really dumb, either one. Figures out a way to completely roll the cage over and it lets it out. Now you could see that as a bad thing. I actually see it as a good thing because that means if you want to let an animal go, all you gotta do is kick the cage over twice and now the animal can go out without you having to get your fingers down there and fiddle around. This one's called a Duke trap. They're not as easy to find, but on Amazon, they are really easy to find. I'm gonna put the link down in the description if y'all wanna look at it. But I recommend that kind 10 to 1 to those. I don't buy those anymore. That's the style that I buy. But before we get into number 1, on this trap right here, it's very versatile. Anything that you can get to fit in the cage and step on the plate can get caught. So you can catch a cat like this, you can catch a raccoon, a possum, a skunk, small dog, a rabbit, a groundhog. The dog proof is a little bit different because in order to set off this trap, the animal has to have hands that can reach in, grab something, and pull up. So that really narrows it down to you can only catch raccoons and possums in these. Every now and again, you'll randomly catch a fox or something crazy, but the way that these are built, it's meant so that you can only catch a raccoon. Now, the way you set it is first, you're going to go ahead and put some bait. I always put dog food right down in there, jiggle it a little bit to make sure it gets under the trigger. But with this, you do have to have a little bit more hand strength. Where you're gonna cock that thing, set it on the trigger right there. Boom. The pivot point is right here. So how it works, whenever they're reaching in to grab dog food, they accidentally grab the trigger. They pull the trigger up, and then this thing ends up pinching their hand right in there. And it doesn't actually hurt them. If you ever want to release them from this thing, I've released a bunch of them, and they're totally fine. Their hand is fine too. It just goes asleep in the trap, but after an hour or something letting them out, they're totally fine. And for these dog proofs, there's a bunch of different brands. You can get them a bunch of different places. But if you want to check these out on Amazon, I'll put the link down in the description on that too. Once again, for me, I pretty much just use dog food for all of my raccoon trapping. But now if you want to watch a video dedicated to catching them in cage traps, click right over here, or dedicated to catching them in a dog proof, click right over here.